and welcome back to Reaching Out with Reach podcast, where we bring to you discussions and topics surrounding prevention and recovery for all. I am pleased to announce we have a special guest joining us today, Pastor Mike Tucker, along with one of our super awesome prevention specialists, Stephanie Choice. Stephanie, you know Mike Tucker very well, so go ahead and give a brief bio about him.
Yes, I've known Pastor Mike, a long time. Well, guys, let me tell you, Mike Tucker is originally from Fort Worth, Texas, and currently resides in Grand Prairie. And he's the pastor of Canyon Creek Project. He's the former pastor of the Arlington Seventh-day Adventist Church. And he is the creator of seminars. Mad About Marriage is one of his biggest ones. You've got Good Grief and The Choice, which I personally love because that's my last name. Now, Mike
It's all about you.
It is, always. Now, Mike Tucker has also been a chaplain for Texas Hughley Health, a Bible teacher at both Chisholm Trail and Valley Grande Academies, as well as a 7th and 8th grade teacher at Dallas Junior Academy. He is married to Pam Tucker and has 2 daughters and 2 grandbabies. And we just want to put it out there that if you or your church would be interested in any of Pastor Mike's ministries, he can be reached at madaboutmarriage.com, lifestyle.org, or tuckerministries.com. And take it away, Mike.
Yeah, well, thank you for that introduction. I'm glad to be with you. My educational background is actually education. With a master's in counseling, but with an educational bias. I've taught, I've pastored, I've counseled, been a counselor, and done chaplaincy, health and psychiatric, as well as health and healthcare and hospital, hospice, you name it. And the last 16 years of my career before I retired about a year and a half ago were in radio and television. So
yes,
there you go. I'm living proof that they'll put anybody on TV.
Well, no, you and Gail were excellent at your shows. And I'm guessing you and she both came up with the Mad About Marriage series. Yeah,
we did. And you're referencing my first wife, Gail, who passed away about 6 years ago from pancreatic cancer. We were married for 40 years. And I wrote a book about her titled Tears to Joy, One Man's Journey Through Grief, and then created the seminar, Good Grief, as well as a small group curriculum to follow up the seminar, the grief sessions. And so, yes, we came up with the idea of Mad About Marriage, and we conducted that all around the world, 121 presentations before she died, and I've added to that another 40 presentations since her death 6 years ago. Even in spite of COVID, I've been able to do the seminar some here and there. Just did one this last week in Fargo, North Dakota. Why I booked that in February, I have no idea. I'm not a smart man.
I saw your post about that, and at least the church was warm and people were warm. So
that's right. The people were warm, and the heater worked, so I was good.
So, Pastor Mike, we are going, since it is, it was Valentine's Day yesterday, February 14th. We wanted to talk to you about communication. What we do here at Reach is we go into schools and we teach a curriculum to kids. We use 3 different main, curriculum. We have Kids Connection for the smaller kids. We have life skill training for elementary age kids. And then we have Too Good for Drugs. And the beginning of it, we are talking about communication. Now, what does effective communication look like in a healthy relationship?
You know, I think when I think about that question, I think about something that John and Julie Gottman said. They're 2 of the preeminent relationship experts and researchers in America out of Washington, the state of Washington. They said that healthy marriages, and we'll put it from that standpoint, occur when couples treat each other as best friends and they resolve conflict in kind and gentle ways. Now, when you look at that and you try to transpose that then to what healthy relationships and healthy communication looks like, think about the very best communication between best friends. It's honest, it's vulnerable, it's open, it's without accusation. Someone said a good friend is someone who's always happy to see you and has no plans for your immediate improvement. And so that means that healthy communication does not involve someone trying to fix you or correct you or tell you you're right or you're wrong. It means they're listening to your heart and trying to ascertain your heart's desire as you share your heart's desire. So it requires that vulnerability and openness. And that's how we get to know each other. So I think that it's best friends who share with each other. And when you do have conflict, you resolve it in kind and gentle ways.
All right. So speaking of kind and gentle and talking about your heart's desires, how does love and communication coincide?
Without communication, there's not much that happens with love. I mean, you may have an attraction, but there's nothing that's going to grow if there's no communication.
Right.
Love starts with an attraction, and we think of it as an emotion. It's also a decision. We choose to love each other. But for love to grow, we have to know each other. And the ways that we do that is spending time together, but also knowing something about each other. That means, what do you value? What's important to you as a human being? What are your heart's desires? How do you process information? How do you make decisions? What do you live for? And if I don't know those things, my love is going to be thwarted. I'm not going to have a growth experience with this. And the best way to figure those things out is to talk about it, to hear you talk about what your passions are, and then to see those lived out in your life. So it's time and conversation. Without that, love doesn't grow. It remains immature.
I like what you said there, because there's nothing like seeing the person that you love the most in their element.
Yeah.
As a soldier, as my husband was a soldier, every time he put on that uniform, swoon.
Yeah. Well, that's important to him. And God love our men and women in uniform because they keep us safe. But that's got to be their passion. They've got to believe in what they do, because they're not just laying down their life at times. But the truth is that they forfeited the opportunities for other lives, for other things they could have done, and that means it's got to be your passion, or you're really wasting a lot of time. And what I found, Pastor Mike, too, is with deployments and field exercises for weeks at a time, the schooling that he had to go through, the way we communicated, I think possibly differs from other relationships, because I was the main parent with our 3 children. So let me ask you this. What are some of the greatest challenges when it comes to communication between couples? Trust. I'm not going to share with you my heart's desire and my vulnerabilities if indeed I feel like I can't trust you. If I'm going to be judged, if you're going to critique me, criticize me, or try to fix me, tell me I'm right or I'm wrong, I'm not as willing to do that. I think another inhibitor to communication is what researchers like John and Julie Gottman, as well as doctors Markman and Stanley from the University of Denver, have found. Those two groups, Stanley and Markman in Denver and Gottman in Washington, both conducted independent study on communication patterns, and both of them found 4 negative communication patterns that destroy relationships. When their listing's a little bit different. I like John and Julie Gottman called theirs the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which is interesting. But Stanley and Markman, I've received training from them at the University of Denver, and they have 4 negative communication patterns that when they exist in a relationship, not only do they inhibit the relationship growth, but they become the best predictors of failed marriages that we know. And when they exist and persist in a relationship, and the more of them you have, the worse it is, then they become inhibitors. And so I think we learn some communication styles from our parents that are destructive. And if we can identify what the negative patterns are and begin to remove them, The research shows that removing one of these patterns does more to ensure the long-term stability and health of a marriage than adding 5 positive things. Getting rid of one negative is more powerful than adding 5 positive things. So I think that we owe it to ourselves to figure out what these are. What patterns do I have in my life that are inhibiting this effective communication? And is there a better, healthier, more gentle way of communicating?
Well, Crystal, do you mind if I piggyback off of that then?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say, the families that we come from also affect how we communicate in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Can culture, gender, nationality, social class, all of those things affect the way we communicate?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's true as well as I do. That's why diplomacy among nations is so difficult. Because there are cultural customs, and I can do, like, I'm from Texas, and my daddy told me, when you talk to a man, look him in the eye. Mm-hmm. But when I do that with someone from the East, they think I'm showing disrespect because I'm staring at them right in the eye.
Form of intimidation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to intimidate them. I'm being aggressive rather than deferring and showing respect by looking down, right, and bowing. Mm-hmm. But in Texas, man, you look a man in the eye. Because otherwise you're not an honest man. Look me in the eye, son. And so, that's just one small example. But racially, even figures of speech, colloquialisms that we all use. Mm-hmm. There's a style of communication between a Black mother and a child, especially an errant child, mm-hmm. that you will find in Black homes and not necessarily in other homes. And it works there. Mm-hmm. But you try that in my white middle class home, and we got problems. Mm-hmm. So, or if I try my style in a Black home, again, we could have some problems. We come from, we are who we are. We are what our backgrounds make us, our education, our race, our homes of origin. And now, in order to bridge that gap, we have to learn about each other. I need to be aware of what the African-American style of communication is, as well as people from the East and people from other cultures. And as far as the socioeconomic level as well, I need to understand how to communicate across those lines and how to receive what they're giving me without being offended.
Right. And to piggyback off of that, I went through a series of learning about biases and different biases we don't even know we have. And that follows what you just said, basically, like we have these different biases, implicit and explicit biases, that we grew up on. And it's like, we don't really recognize them because of how we were raised or because of our social and economic groups that we're around. So
you're right. You're right.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So going back to about building relationships, how does love play a key role when building relationships and maintaining those relationships as well?
Well, actually, love can get in the way. I think the best love relationships start off as friendships, and then love can complicate it because we got a whole host of emotions coming in there, and sometimes the emotions keep us from thinking rationally, and then there are expectations, and you may even have a personal expectation that when you love deeply, you're going to be rejected. Well, that complicates a relationship, believe it or not. So it can complicate it, but without proper communication, no love relationship is going to grow. No love relationship is going to get over being immature and a feeling, and at times a volatile feeling. So we just simply have to learn to get over the vulnerability, the emotional trauma of being in love, and learn to trust each other. And when we can do that logically, one of the principles I teach in marriage classes called goodwill marriage. And that's where I make a commitment that I want what's best for the relationship and for my marriage and for my marriage partner. And I believe that she wants the same thing from me. And if I can go in with that attitude, then when she says or does something that doesn't feel quite right, I go back to the original premise. She has goodwill toward me, goodwill toward the marriage. And I add to that then another basic assumption, and that is my spouse would never intentionally harm me. Now, if I can have those two basic assumptions, that she wouldn't hurt me on purpose, if she's hurting me, it's unintentional, and she wants what's best for me and for the relationship just as I do, then I can quit reading so much stuff into the relationship and just take her words at face value. Or if I have a question, ask the question rather than assume.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to communication, and this is not even just romantically, how effective do you think has the quality and quantity of our communication, has it been bettered by internet and social media?
Some of the ugliest thing I've ever seen has happened on social media. In fact, I've got long-term friends. I've been friends with one woman in particular. This comes to mind. Longer than either of you two have been alive. All right. That's how long I've been friends with this woman. And we haven't seen each other face to face much over the last 20 years or so, but there's still a connection there. She said some things to me on social media that I was greatly offended by. I mean, the way she talked to me. And then we ran into each other the other day and she just acted like nothing had ever happened.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? Don't you know what you said? So there is this assumption of anonymity when someone types things on a keyboard and they, you get angry and you type stuff that, my word, no, it's not helped us. I think that social media can be a powerful tool, and I've used it powerfully during the pandemic, especially. A lot of ministry has taken place on social media for me. Mm-hmm. My wife and we were a part of this church, Canyon Creek Project. It's a church plant and is geared for people much younger than me and more secular than myself. And so the music is not exactly my music, but it's theirs, and they love it. So they're grooving out on it, and that's fine. I don't care because they're coming. But we started a prayer meeting with the pandemic on Facebook. And, prayer meeting, midweek meetings, it's hard to get people out for. Yeah. I had more people at this crazy prayer meeting on Facebook than ever with much larger churches in person. So that part of it can be a powerful tool for communication. I've done grief programs on Facebook or Zoom. I've done marriage seminars there. So it can be a very powerful tool for communication. But by and large, most of the way we're doing it is not very positive, and people have this sense of anonymity. And you if you would read out loud some of the things you type, you might not type it that way. Mm-hmm. Because there's so much that is left that unsaid that sends a message that is other than what you might think it is.
All right.
Well, considering what we do here at Reach, do you think that kids and teens could possibly benefit from what we teach when it comes to communication?
Absolutely. Communication has to do with the way we talk to each other. And again, that's something I teach in marriage seminars. When you change the way you talk, you change the fabric of the relationship. When you change the way you listen, when you learn to listen, you change the fabric of the relationship. So yes, everyone can benefit from this. Learning what things sound like to other people, how to more powerfully and effectively communicate what you're doing. Everyone needs this. The show that I did, Lifestyle Magazine, was a talk show. We interviewed celebrities and authors and people with great stories. I interviewed a woman named Dr. Susan Heitler. She's a psychiatrist, and she wrote a book on problem solving in relationships, and she calls her collaborative dialogue. Which is basically it's a skill for listening and for talking and then finding positive ways to solve a problem. After she finished her book on this topic, she shared it with members of her family to ask for a title for it. She eventually titled it The Power of Two, but she gave it to her 21-year-old son, who at the time was a college student. And she said, "What should I entitle this?" He read the book and said, "Mom, I know what you should call this. You should call it what we should have learned in sex education class." He said, the stuff they taught us, maybe, it has a value. But the truth is we all fall in love easily, but no one teaches us how to do a relationship. And that's what this book is about. Solving problems means that we can stay in relationship and we can do it amicably and without hurting one another. We can communicate effectively. That's what they should teach us. And so, yes, The material taught by Reach is essential. It's quality, and it's important that young people learn to communicate, not just by texting and not just on social media, but actually face-to-face communication.
Yeah,
And then they're learning the crossover. Yeah.
So I have a question about that. So from a professional and personal perspective, has the internet been more beneficial or harmful? Going back to the internet, has it been more beneficial or harmful to the way that we communicate and express our feelings?
Frankly, after watching the political discussions that come up over something as simple as wearing a mask, it seems to be more harmful. Everybody's got their 15 minutes and they make mountains out of molehills. They're making a mask a political statement. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's a health statement. I'm sorry. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican or something in between. It's not about that.
Yeah.
And so it's the question is vaccination or masking. Oh, anyway, I think that overall it has been more negative frequently than it has positive. It can be a very positive tool for good, but what I see mostly on the internet, on Facebook, Twitter, tends to be pretty negative. I have to take a break from it every now and then so I don't go on Prozac.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it is. It's something about being behind a screen or a screen period, whether it's your computer or your phone, that people get bold, very bold, and say whatever they want that they would never say in person.
Ever.
And I mean, honestly, even for me, like not just like my phone or anything, but when it comes to like writing down things or just typing something in my notes, it's easier to express that when it's writing down, when I'm writing it down or typing it, rather than actually saying it, you know?
Yeah. I do think that, again, most of us need to read out loud the things that we're sending, even email. I mentioned my wife, Gail, who had passed away about 6 years ago. She was wonderful at this. She was the most gracious, diplomatic woman I've ever met in my life. And someone who had ticked me off terribly, professionally or something. And I would write this email that was, I thought was professional, but, stating my point. I let her read it. She said, wait 3 days before you send that. I said, no, I want to send it now. Wait 3 days. And then, 2 or 3 days later, I'd read it. Yeah, she's probably right.
Right.
We always are. Well, Pastor Mike, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy man. Again, guys, if you would like to reach out to Pastor Mike, he can be reached at madaboutmarriage.com, lifestyle.org, or tuckerministries.com. I really appreciate your time,
yes,
sir.
We do.
It was my honor.
Yes, we know that there's so many other things you could be doing, but we appreciate you taking your time out today to speak with us. So as we conclude, thank you again, Pastor Mike. Thank you, Stephanie, for introducing us to Pastor Mike. And thank you for all of our listeners for constantly listening and supporting us. We want to thank you all, like I said, for tuning in. And until next time, remember, life is full of choices. Choose happy, choose healthy.